So a couple ways I'm thinking about doing this is just bolting this in place, cutting a slot in here so I can put the belt through, drill and tapping a couple holes. So that way I can just put this through, put it on this side, screw those bolts down, and then it should hold it tight and in place where it can't go, and then this angle should give it plenty of strength where it won't bend over or anything. I'm not sure how I'm going to do the other side yet, but we'll get one side at a time and get it all put together. Okay, so now we're going to put this. Now we're going to put this how this is going to go here. So now I have a place on both sides to tighten the belt in place so it won't move. So I got one on this side and I have one on this side here. And that will allow me to pull tension and it not slip out. I am going to come in here and round. I'm going to come in here and round this corner off on this back side a little better so that way there's no sharp edge. It's already chamfered a little bit, but I want to make sure it's nice and smooth so that way less chance of causing a spot in the belt to tear. Hopefully that's not an issue. We'll deal with it if it is later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a piece here that will come on here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut a slot in here and the belt will slide through there and you'll be able to tension the belt this way and then lock down your screws here. That'll tighten this on your belt, and that's how you should be able to set your tension on this belt. That's the plan anyway. So let's get this a head cut out on here, and then we'll cut out a slot also. So let's get this to the mill. So we'll be using a hex collet here. See if I can get this in here. I thought it was 3/8. Should be 3/8. So we'll go ahead and we'll cut a head on here first. We'll put a hex head on there. Hopefully that'll do it. I don't know where my spanner wrench is. Same thing, we're not doing anything too critical here. I'm just gonna use my drill chuck. See, I'm using a broken end mill. So it might not even be perfectly straight either. But it's good enough for what we're gonna do. Get this chucked in here. So I went a little too deep and made it an oddball. It's 7mm fits on there though. So that's what we're going to be using for that. Now if I can get this loose here, and I did. There we go. Now I will turn it the other way and we'll put it in this way. Now we're going to cut a slot. So same thing here. None of this is really critical. So we're just going to kind of eyeball everything here and try to make things work. So we're going to center it on that peak as well as we can. And we'll say that's center enough. Now we'll get a piece of belt and see if it slides in there easy. No problem at all. I think we're good. I'm gonna put a chamfer on it, both sides. Okay, so there it is. Ready to be tested out. See if it actually works. Let me round these corners off before I put any tension on this belt. Okay, so a little tip with emery cloth. If you go ahead and you fold it, you get a nice edge. This allows you to get actually real close into shoulders and corners. So come in here and make sure there's no burrs on that aluminum. Try to get a nice round edge going, mainly on this corner. We'll do both, but that's the critical one on this side here. Looks like it'll work pretty good. I'm just barely going to snug this down. There we go. That way we can get some tension on there. Or see if I can find some at the hardware store, some thin washers, so that way I can put some, basically put some flanges on here by putting a washer on so the belts can't come off as easy. Oh, that's interesting. I'm pleased with the way that's looking. I don't know how good it is going to be running the belt this way. I think we'll be fine. What's interesting is the belts down there have issues, and they're laying flat too, so I don't think it's going to matter. I think once you get some tension on here, everything will line up, and then if I put those little washers there, everything good. I have to space these up, like I said. These are down too far. So we'll see how things run here. Well, I think we're done for today. Let's go home and get some food. So I need some washers, and real thin washers. So what I'm doing is I'm taking two bearings top of each other. That way I can hold everything fairly straight and punching it out. So there's a piece right there, and get this out now. That's looking pretty good. There we go. There's my gonna be my washer. I'll cut that out. So this actually works the best here, as far as putting the two bearings together, so that way you can, it kind of helps hold the shape of the other one. And it gives it a place to be punched out. On my piece here, I drilled it and ran a countersink, so I kind of have a sharp edge around. So that's what's doing a nice job of cutting that out and actually making nice little buttons in the wood. That's just a side effect, but that gives me little washers, little thin washers I can use as shims to space some fender washers that I have here out. And we got a little bit too small of a hole, so we'll go ahead and drill a big hole in them. Now the holes are inside. Now we'll go ahead and take these over to the other table. Well, what do we do with this? I'm using just the regular scissors, but I got this right here. This looks pretty good. So, don't have to be perfect. Just go ahead and cut that out. There's one washer. Cut this other one out here. You know what we're looking at is this inner bearing here, the inner race. We want to be able to sit on that. We don't want it too big where we're going to catch the outside. And we really don't want to be rubbing on that seal either. So smaller the better, but not too small. So those will fit perfectly. So let's go ahead and put this other one together over here. So I brought this back out because I need to put these washers on here to keep my belts from coming off and getting ruined. I was hoping I didn't have to, but as of right now, I think it's best. So hopefully I get it to track right where I don't need them and they're just for a safety. I'm trying to square everything up, make sure everything's perfectly square so I don't have any issues at all. So now you tighten that down and your bearings still roll. That's exactly what we want there. If you had a good way of evenly pressing these down and kind of opening them up a little bit, that would actually accomplish what you need. But this will work too if you can buy the washers, I just don't want to wait for them. So I just making my own, but I would suggest you order your own washers. So I'll go ahead and put this one on. I'm just making sure everything's square. If I was going to do this again, one thing I would do is I would just go ahead and cut this out, maybe even all the way up here, or I might even just cut it, do a short one, and then run a piece of aluminum down. 1/4 inch aluminum by 4 inches wide. Bolt that up here and cut all your holes in that aluminum. It'll be way easier to cut all those holes, and you only got to do like 3 or 4 up here to bolt it together. And what that would do is you wouldn't have this round corner that gets in your way, and a lot easier to cut your slots, your holes, everything would be way easier on aluminum. So that's one thing I would do differently. You would have to come up with something a little different on this side. You'd have to make some standoffs that would hold this back piece, the back bearing in place, which isn't very hard at all. There's several different ways you can do that, but the way this is, I wouldn't do it again. Like I said, if I was going to do this, knowing what I know now, I would just chop this off here, piece of 1/4 inch aluminum, or even if I had to go thicker, I'd go 3/8 aluminum, 4 inches wide, and that would handle it just perfectly. So you'd probably be doing roughly, I don't know, so there's 6, at least 9 inches, probably 10 inches, 4 inch by 3/8, and bolt that in here on the outside, and it would be exactly what, make things way easier. That's if you got scrap steel that you're using. If you don't have scrap steel that you're using for this, it'd be better off just to build this all out of the extruded aluminum. They do that all the time, or just using aluminum angle iron. Would be a lot better than trying to do this all with stainless or a mild steel. It's just way too heavy. You're adding a lot of weight that that is totally not needed. So I'm going to get this installed and we'll see how things run now. But first I got to get this pulley set in place, because obviously I didn't tighten down bearings last time I had this off. There's two. This is probably why this side was tracking better. That pulley was able to move in and out whatever it needed to do. It was good. Now we're going to put this belt back on and tighten down those bolts. Ready to install and put the belts back on and see how she runs now. One of the things I haven't showed you guys is making a way of fastening this belt on itself. So if you can get the belt to catch on the cogs itself, you got to have a little bit of force to hold them together, but that'll keep them together. So we're going to bend this piece of sheet metal here around, so that way we can pinch this down, and then that will hold that in place. So how we do that is I got this little piece here cut to the right size. It looks like it's probably like 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, real close to 3/8 of an inch. So all we're going to do is we're going to take this and put it like, I don't know, almost 1/8 of an inch off the side there, and then we'll clamp it down. We want it relatively square. Just go ahead and bend it over. And you take it and you clamp it this way. And you bend that over. Then you clamp it again. And you bend this one over. And you clamp it again. Now, that's about the size we're going to need it. Push this out here. And if we get our belt here, you'll see our belt will slip in there. It's kind of tight. We can get it, we can force it in there. And then you bring it around itself here, just like this here. And you find out exactly where you're going to need to have it. So we're going to be going around a 5/16 piece here, so you need to make sure you have enough teeth there grabbing, and then you go ahead and you push this on top. We're pushing the belt. We don't want that. So go ahead and give yourself a little extra. That'll be okay. If you don't like the belt sticking out, you can always trim some of that off. And then you go ahead and push this. You just want to be able to get it around. I'm going to have a bolt, so 5/16 right there. Now, just go ahead and take it and clamp it down. And now, it is not going to come out. You're in there good, and you can still get it around your 5/16 bolt, and there you go. On the other side, I'm going to try something a little different. I've done it on the other side too, but I'm going to try to do without that. I'm going to actually use a piece of metal with a screw to push up and to try to pinch them together between two flat pieces, and hopefully that'll hold. Okay, so we have our belt and we have a bolt here, and we got to make sure we put it in the right way. So that's going to be the correct way there. Then we go ahead and put our nut on. So with having our belt, having this nut here does two things. It'll keep that belt from sliding in and out, and then it'll also make for a place for it to lock down on this side here. You got to make sure your cog side of your belt is facing up, so that way it will catch your sprocket or your drive pulley. There we go. Now what we do is we have to run our belt around our pulleys, our drive pulley and our idlers. So we get that up in place. Up it around, and there we go. Now that is good to go. One thing I'm going to do, just to make things easier, I'm going to slide this all the way back. By sliding that all the way back, it just be easier to line up both sides. Now we have our adjuster here. What we're going to do, let's see if our piece fits in here. And it does. Okay, so I think we want to use that one. So we want to push it up. Okay, so now we take this and we put it through there, take our pin and get it pushed through. Now we're good to go here. And put this back on. Okay. So I could snug that up right there, but I got plenty of belt and I think I have plenty of adjuster. So we're going to suck this adjuster in a ways more. So now we're going to put this piece on the bottom here underneath and take one of our bolts here and screw it in place. I think that's good there. So I got a lot of flop in the belt. We'll go ahead and tighten this up just a little bit here. I think that's good right there.